What's the best way, strategies, and methods to get to know yourself and like yourself? Moving on to the next one, we've got how do people stop defining themselves, actions, their life view by the nice guy syndrome? I followed up with a questionnaire on this one. And what he's saying here is like once you've actually started working on yourself as a nice guy, how do you start to like let go of thinking of yourself as one? Which I think is actually a really good question because I see this with all kinds of mental disorders and illnesses. I see it in addiction with 12 steps and everything, where people say, like, you must always identify as a thing. So, in addiction, certain therapies, which are ineffective, like 12 step, they'll talk about how you must always see yourself as an addict. And I've seen lately a wave, especially in my clients, of people who get diagnosed as neurodivergent. So, people who have autism or Asperger's or ADHD, they like start to cling to that label, like I'm autistic and I'm just gonna like stay that forever. Or people with depression, like I'm depressed, as in like that's my identity, or I'm an anxious person. I have social anxiety. Now, these labels, these identities, do seem to play a helpful role temporarily. Like everyone I've ever worked with who didn't realize that they were on the autistic spectrum has found it very helpful to find that out when I pointed out to them, like, oh, okay, I'm not just a freak. There's a name for this thing. That explains why school was so hard, and that explains why I keep picking my nails or whatever, right? So they've got this thing that like finally they get this like high off it almost. That's kind of like, oh, okay, this is a thing. I'm not some like freak on my own. Like I've got a thing that a lot of people have. I think there's some relief in reduction of shame in the label, and I see that with nice guy syndrome as well. When guys have just struggled their whole life and they feel like they're doing everything right, but it doesn't make them happy and it doesn't make sense. And somebody goes, "Yeah, you got the syndrome, man. It backfires on you. Like you're not as nice as you think you are. You're being fake. That's why you're getting these results." And they go, "Oh God, finally it makes sense." And I think that relief comes from, well, if this thing has a label and people have studied it, maybe there's a solution. The problem is, of course, that you become almost addicted to having the label, sometimes defiantly proud of it. I've seen people in recovery do this, like, I am an addict. It's like, all right, mate, you don't need to boast about it. You know what I mean? Like, fair enough that you accept yourself as you are, but also you kind of sound like you're bragging at this point. I see this all the time with neurodivergent people. They come up with a big list. It's almost like they've got all these qualifications, like Asperger's, ADHD, insecure, anxious attachment, and they just come up with this like receipt of all the diagnoses they picked up. They sound like a first year psychology student. Every single psychology student does this, myself included. You read the DSM and you just diagnose yourself with fucking half the shit in there. And you're kind of proud of it. Like, I want to give myself more diagnoses than my friend next to me, like, oh, you think you're that. Well, I'm this, this, and this. I think there's a kind of victim hero thing going on there where we're like, look at me, I got a problem, I'm special. So it does have a helpful role in that you go, okay, now I know what I need to focus on. I know what's causing me my pain. I know that there are ways through this. I can't just sit here banging my head against the wall. If I got nice guy syndrome, let's go have a look at what the syndrome does and what the potential adjustments are that can be made for my quality of life to go up. But this double-edged sword comes at a price because now there's two problems, especially with nice guy syndrome, but it applies probably to all of them. Is now you start questioning if everything you're doing is derived from the syndrome. And nice guys in recovery go through a transition of struggling with this, where they now realize that they've spent a lot of their life being manipulative and they weren't even honest with themselves about it. They didn't even know they were being manipulative. And now they wonder if everything they do all the time is manipulative, including their recovery from nice guy syndrome. Like, am I just trying to look like I'm recovering so that people will like me? Or am I just doing this to tell myself a story of X, Y, and Z? And so now, even when they're taking like the kind of actions they always wish they could have been able to take. They're more bold and they're more shameless and whatever and honest. Now they're just thinking, is this just a new manifestation of nice guy syndrome? Is this just another way of getting what I want? Is it just another way of tricking people into liking me? And I see this with people like if they're neurodivergent, suddenly every little habit, tick, and trait they have gets labeled as autistic. They're like, I always put my toast perfectly cut in half. That's because I'm autistic. It's like, no, maybe you just like your toast cut in half. Like, not everything you do is disordered. Not everything you do needs a label. Not everything you do needs to change. And particularly that last thing. Because in the end, when it comes to recovery from nice guy syndrome, calling yourself a nice guy has limited value, actually. It helps right at the start to take responsibility to be like, okay, the way I behave is fake. I've been conditioned and programmed to behave this way. I can see it's unhelpful, it's harmful to others and myself, and it's not the person I want to be. So I'm open to changing some shit, and it's me who needs to change it because I'm doing this. This isn't being done to me. That's great. That's very helpful. Same with autism. You're like, okay, I actually have a certain wiring in my brain that makes socializing different to other people for me, and I need to take responsibility for that. If I want to socialize well, I'm going to have to work with what I've got. I've got to play the hand I'm dealt, right? Just like if someone gets their leg cut off, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to put something on there and hop around. I need crutches, maybe. Like, I'm going to have to transport myself differently to other people. I can't just sit around crying about it. But that's about where the usefulness stops, I think, because now you need to actually decide who you're going to be, what parts you're going to keep, what parts need to change, what's real and authentic, and what's based in lies. And at this point, you can kind of let go of the label, right? You don't need to say something is nice guy syndrome to be able to say it goes against my core values, or that was a harmful thing to do, or I don't like it when I do stuff like this. You can just say it like that. You can just get it down to all your traits and behavioral patterns as preferred or dispreferred. I like it when I take care of my body. I don't like it when I binge on drugs and sugary foods. I don't need to say, well, I binge on sugary foods because, I have trauma from my childhood. It's like, no, you just don't want to do that. You want to change the behavior. Okay. Because this is where I might get a little controversial. I'm quite against talk therapy, mostly because the scientific consensus is that it's ineffective. You sitting around talking about your illness nonstop with absolutely no efforts made to correct the behavior that's harming you, justifying that behavior, saying I can't help it because I have X diagnosis. That's just self-serving. That's just egotistical. It's narcissistic. It's just putting money in the therapist's pocket without you actually having an improved quality of life. I mean, I see this all the time with, let's say, guys who are really terrible in relationships and they go get all this therapy and they're still terrible in relationships, but now they do it with therapy jargon. They'll be like, well, that's my avoidant attachment, and that's because, my father was dismissive and emotionally neglectful. It's like, yeah, but you're still being a dick in your relationship. So what use is the label if you don't change your behavior, right? Um, so the original question, how do people stop defining themselves and everything they do by the nice guy syndrome? You just stop. And instead, in my opinion anyway, you start to reference your core values. I mean, I literally know mine off the top of my head. There's six of them. And I look at my behavior and I compare it to them and I go, does it line up or not? That's all I need to know. The only sort of labels or words I need to know are the ones that describe my core values. The guy I want to be. The guy I wish my daughter would bring home one day. The guy that if everyone in the world was like this, it would be a better place. Like, I just need to compare my behavior to that model and correct it when it doesn't line up. I don't need a label in order to do that. And I don't need to wave the label like a banner over my head and be proud of it when doing so actually prohibits me from changing my behavior. That, like I said, I'm quite critical of 12-step drug rehabilitation programs, mostly because statistically they're very unsuccessful. But this idea that you are an addict, it's like, well, not if you've stopped using. You're not. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you can go and use again. You're clearly someone who doesn't do drugs well, but you don't need to call that addict. You don't need to say, I'm an addict and therefore I can justify all these like repetitive, harmful behaviors I do. It's just like, no, there's some things you can't be trusted doing, so don't do them, period. But you don't need to call yourself an addict. If you're being a healthy person, call yourself a healthy person for now. If your behavior is good, call it good. If your behavior is bad, don't say it's addict behavior, say it's bad behavior and you're going to fix it, right? So I hope that answers the question. I might have gone a little off course. But the idea is, yeah, the label of nice guy syndrome, I obviously use it a lot, but because a lot of my content and everything I'm putting out there is for the people who are very new to this and they need to understand like why it is they do what they do. But once you understand, once you can see the difference between you being authentic and you being a nice guy, then we don't need to keep calling you a nice guy, right? Now you just need to look at your behavior every day and go, does it line up with this guy that I'm trying to be? And that's all you need to know. Are you a nice guy or people pleaser who wishes they were more assertive, more honest, and better respected by others? Since 2013, I've been helping people just like you discover their integrity and apply it courageously to build deep and meaningful connections, get respected by others, and become the confident person you've always wanted to be. Imagine being able to speak your mind without worrying what other people will think or worrying that it's the right thing to say, and being able to assertively stand up for yourself and your loved ones. Imagine never feeling the need to apologize for who you are or what you want, and being able to live carefree without shame or the I'm not good enough story in your head. Imagine going to bed knowing that you courageously took every opportunity available to you and you've got no regrets because you always know what you should be doing in every situation. I'm so confident in my ability to help people like you unleash your highest level of self-worth that I give people a free coaching session to test what I'm doing. In this 1 hour session, we will uncover the biggest barrier to your confidence, whether it's an awareness problem, you don't know what you should be doing differently, or it's a courage problem, you know what you should be doing, but you find it too intimidating. I will guide you to make a breakthrough with your behavior to get through that barrier in a powerful way without feeling terrified and without destroying everything you love. I've had some people find this first session so powerful that I never hear from them again simply because they didn't need anything more after that. It launched them into the highest level of confidence that they've ever experienced. And if that's the result you get, I'm good with that. One client put it, this session was more valuable to me than 3 years of therapy combined. So if you're tired of trying to keep everybody happy and you're sick of worrying what other people think of you and you're concerned that your people pleasing and conflict avoidance is going to damage your relationships, then come and have a talk with me. Worst case scenario, you get to experience what it's like to talk with someone who actually understands what it's like to be you. I've lived the nice guy experience for decades. I know it inside and out. I know that pain. Case scenario, and very likely, you will have such a powerful insight into a behavioral change that you can make in the next 24 hours to significantly improve your confidence, relationships, and career. All I ask is that you be honest, open to change, and willing to try something new. Why wait another 10 years to discover confidence when you can do it today? Fill out the brief form below to apply for a trial coaching session. Do this quickly because there are limited spots each month, and then I'll get back to you to book in a time to talk.